Good evening, my friends. Tonight, I'm going to tell you something that will sound completely backwards, something that contradicts everything you've been taught about achieving your desires. The harder you try, the further away your manifestation becomes. I know this sounds impossible. You've been conditioned your entire life to believe that success requires effort, that you must work hard, push harder, try your best, give it everything you've got. But when it comes to manifestation, when it comes to the law of assumption, effort is not your ally. Effort is your enemy. And tonight, you're going to understand why. You're going to discover why every ounce of effort you put into manifesting is actually creating resistance that pushes your desire away. And more importantly, you're going to learn what to do instead. This is the teaching that separates true masters of consciousness from those who exhaust themselves trying to make things happen. Let me show you where you're going wrong. You wake up and decide today is the day you're going to manifest your desire. You're going to do it right. You're going to put in the work. So you spend an hour visualizing. You repeat your affirmations 50 times. You write out your desires in detail. You make a vision board. You listen to audios. You do every technique you've learned. You're trying so hard, working so diligently, putting in maximum effort, and then nothing happens. Or worse, things move in the opposite direction. You're confused, frustrated, discouraged. I did everything right, you think. I put in so much effort. Why isn't it working? But that's exactly the problem. You put in effort. Let me ask you something. When you already have something, when you truly possess it, do you put effort into having it? Do you wake up every morning and try hard to have what you already have? Do you work at having your current reality? Do you put effort into having the things that are already yours? No. You just have them. Effortlessly. Naturally. Without trying. This is the state you must be in regarding your desire. Not the state of trying to get it. Not the state of working to manifest it, but the state of already having it. And having requires no effort whatsoever. Let me show you what's really happening when you put effort into manifesting. Effort is force. And force comes from the belief that something isn't happening, something isn't working, something needs to be pushed into existence. When you're trying hard to manifest, what you're really saying, what you're really assuming is, I don't have this, it's not here yet. I need to make it happen. It won't come unless I force it. Every ounce of effort is broadcasting the frequency of lack, of separation, of not having. You think you're moving toward your desire, but you're actually affirming its absence with every action you take. Think about it. If you truly had $1 million in your bank account right now, would you be sitting there desperately visualizing it? Would you be repeating affirmations about money? Would you be trying to feel abundant? No, you would simply be abundant. Without effort, without trying, without doing anything to create what's already yours. This is the paradox. The moment you try to manifest something, you're affirming that you don't have it. And that assumption, that underlying frequency of not having, is what manifests, not your desire, your lack of it. Let me explain something fundamental about how assumption actually works. An assumption is not something you do. It's something you are. When you assume something, you're not working at believing it. You're not trying to convince yourself of it. You're not putting effort into making it real. You simply accept it as fact, naturally, effortlessly. The way you accept that the sun rose this morning, or that you're sitting where you're sitting right now. Do you put effort into assuming your name? Do you work hard at assuming your current location? Do you try to believe you're breathing? No. These things are so obviously true to you that assumption is automatic, effortless, natural. This is the state you must reach regarding your desire. Not trying to believe you have it, not working to feel like you have it, but naturally, effortlessly assuming it as fact. And here's what you need to understand. You cannot effort your way into a natural assumption. Trying hard to believe something actually proves you don't believe it. Because if you truly believed it, trying would be unnecessary. This is why all your effort is working against you. Let me paint you a picture of what true manifestation looks like. Imagine someone who is genuinely wealthy. Not someone trying to manifest wealth. Someone who is wealthy. How do they think about money? They don't. Not in the way you do. They're not constantly visualizing bank accounts. They're not repeating affirmations about abundance. They're not working hard to feel rich. They simply are rich. And because they are, money is just there, available, accessible, not something they have to try to have. When they see something they want, they don't think I need to manifest the money for this. They think I can get that if I want. Or they don't think about it at all. They just get it. There's no effort, no force, no trying, just natural effortless having. This is the state you must occupy regarding your desire, not the state of trying to get it, the state of already having it, where having is so natural, so assumed, so effortless, that you don't even think about it anymore. Now let me show you the energetic mechanism of why effort pushes your desire away. Manifestation happens through resonance, not force. Think of a tuning fork. When you strike one tuning fork, another fork across the room begins to vibrate at the same frequency, without any physical contact, without any effort, through pure resonance. This is how manifestation works. When you are in the state of having your desire, when you embody that frequency naturally, effortlessly, circumstances, people and opportunities that match that frequency are drawn to you automatically. Not because you're forcing them, because you're resonating with them. But when you try to force manifestation through effort, you're like someone trying to make the second tuning fork vibrate by pushing it, hitting it, working at it. You're creating discord, resistance, interference. The more you push, the more resistance you create. The more resistance you create, the more effort you think you need. The more effort you apply, the more you affirm lack. And the cycle continues, keeping your desire perpetually out of reach. Now, let me address something important. I teach visualization. I teach SATs. I teach techniques. But these techniques are not about effort. They're about assumption. When you visualize your desire fulfilled, you're not trying to make it happen. You're not working to create it. You're not forcing the universe to give it to you. You're simply occupying the state of already having it. You're rehearsing the feeling of possession. You're assuming it's done. And if there's effort in your visualization, if you're straining, forcing, trying hard, you're doing it wrong. True visualization is effortless. You close your eyes and you're simply there in the reality where your desire is fulfilled. No trying, no forcing, just being. It should feel natural, easy, like remembering something that already happened rather than trying to create something that hasn't. If your visualization feels like work, you're in the wrong state. You're trying instead of being. In Scripture, God rested on the seventh day, the Sabbath, the day of rest after creation. This is one of the most profound teachings about manifestation, hidden in plain sight. When God rested, creation was complete. Not because God was tired, but because when creation is truly finished, effort ceases. This is the state you must reach regarding your desire. You assume it's done, completely done, finished, already created in consciousness, and then you rest. You don't keep trying to create it. You don't keep working at manifesting it. You don't keep putting effort into making it happen. You rest in the knowing that it's already done. This rest, this cessation of effort, is not laziness. It's the ultimate act of faith. It's the seal on your assumption. It says, I have assumed my desire fulfilled. The work is done. Now I rest, knowing that what I have established in consciousness must manifest in my world. And it's in this rest, this effortlessness, this complete absence of trying, that manifestation happens most powerfully. Let me show you something else about effort that you need to see. Most of the time, your effort isn't coming from faith. It's coming from anxiety. You're not working hard because you believe it's working. You're working hard because you're afraid it's not. You visualize obsessively because you're worried that if you don't, nothing will happen. You repeat affirmations constantly because you're anxious that your desire won't come without them. You try technique after technique because you're scared that you haven't found the right one yet. All of this effort is anxiety in disguise. And anxiety is the opposite of assumption. When you truly assume something, you're not anxious about it. You're certain of it. And certainty requires no effort, no constant checking, no desperate trying. Think about something you're absolutely certain of. The sun will rise tomorrow. You exist, your name is your name. Are you anxious about these things? Are you putting effort into making them true? No, because certainty is effortless. This is the state you must reach regarding your desire. Not anxious effort, but effortless certainty. So if effort is your enemy, what do you do instead? You assume. And then you let go. That's it. That's the entire practice. You choose your desired state. You occupy it fully, not through strain and effort, but through natural imagination and feeling. You assume it's done. You claim it as yours in consciousness. And then you let go of trying to make it happen. You don't monitor the physical world for evidence. You don't anxiously work at manifesting. You don't force or push or try. You simply live from your assumption, naturally, effortlessly, the way you live from any assumption you hold about yourself. If someone asks, "Are you trying to manifest abundance?" and your honest answer is yes, "I'm trying so hard," you're in the wrong state. The right answer is, "I am abundant. I'm not trying to be. I am." This shift from trying to have to simply being is everything. Now some of you are thinking, but don't I have to do anything? Don't I have to take action? Let me clarify this carefully. There's a difference between inspired action and forced effort. Forced effort comes from the belief that your manifestation won't happen unless you make it happen. It's rooted in lack, fear, and doubt. Inspired action comes from the naturalness of your assumption. It's what you do because it's natural for someone in your state to do it. A person who is wealthy doesn't force themselves to manage their money. They naturally do what wealthy people do because that's who they are. A person who is loved doesn't try to behave like someone who's loved. They naturally interact from that state because that's their reality. Do you see the difference? One is trying to become. The other is being. One is effort. The other is naturalness. When you truly assume your desire fulfilled, certain actions will feel natural, easy, obvious, not forced. You take these actions not because you're trying to make your desire happen, but because they're what someone in your state would naturally do. This is the only action that serves manifestation. Action that flows from being, not from trying to become. Here's how you know if you're in true assumption or if you're still trapped in effort. Ask yourself, if I stop doing all my manifestation techniques right now, stop visualizing, stop affirming, stop trying, would I still feel like my desire is mine? If the answer is no, if you feel like you must keep working at it, or it won't happen, you're not in assumption, you're in effort. True assumption doesn't need constant reinforcement. It doesn't require perpetual technique. It doesn't depend on you trying every day. True assumption is a resting state, a settled knowing, a natural certainty that requires no effort to maintain. You know your name without having to repeat it to yourself every day. You know you exist without having to visualize it constantly. You know what you know with zero effort. This is how you must know your desire is fulfilled, with the same effortless certainty. This is the core distinction you must understand. Most people are working toward their desire, trying to reach it, putting effort into getting there. But manifestation doesn't work that way. You must live from your desire, from the end, from the state of already having. And when you're truly living from it, there's no effort, there's no trying, there's no working toward, there's only being. You're not trying to become wealthy. You are wealthy, and you live from that state. You're not working toward being loved. You are loved, and you move through your day from that reality. You're not putting effort into manifesting success. You are successful, and everything you do flows from that identity. This is living from the end, and it's completely effortless. The moment effort enters, you've exited the end and returned to the journey. You're no longer in having. You're in trying to get, and trying to get never manifests having. Only being in the state of having manifests having. There's a beautiful paradox at the heart of manifestation that most people miss. The moment you stop trying to make it happen is often the moment it happens. Why? Because when you stop trying, you finally let go of the lack assumption hidden in your effort. You've stopped affirming, I don't have this yet, through your desperate attempts to create it. You finally entered the state of rest, of completion, of already having. I've seen it countless times. Someone tries and tries and tries to manifest something. They put in tremendous effort. Nothing happens. Then one day, exhausted, they give up. They surrender. They stop trying, and within days or weeks, the manifestation appears. Not because giving up made it happen, but because in that surrender, they accidentally entered the state they'd been trying so hard to reach, the state of already having, where no effort is needed. This doesn't mean you should give up on your desire. It means you should give up on trying to force it into existence. Assume it's done, and then rest in that completion, effortlessly. So what does this look like practically? Instead of spending hours trying to visualize, spend 5 minutes naturally imagining your wish fulfilled. Make it easy. Make it feel good. No strain, no force. Instead of repeating affirmations hundreds of times trying to convince yourself, simply assume it once with certainty, and move on with your day. Instead of constantly checking for evidence and working to stay positive, occupy your desired state naturally and let circumstances catch up. Instead of anxiously monitoring every thought and forcing yourself to think correctly, gently redirect your mind when you notice it's wandered. Then let it rest in your assumption. The entire practice becomes light, easy, natural, effortless. You're not working at manifestation. You're simply being in your desired state, and being requires no effort whatsoever. Ultimately, this teaching is about shifting your identity. You are not someone who is trying to manifest something. You are someone who has it. And someone who has something doesn't put effort into having it. They just have it. Naturally. Effortlessly. Obviously. When this becomes your identity, when you stop being the person who's working to get and become the person who already has, everything changes. You move through your day differently. You think differently. You feel differently. You are different. And the world, responding to who you are in consciousness, must reorganize to reflect this new identity. Not because you forced it, because you assumed it, effortlessly. Tonight, I want you to do something radical. Stop trying. Just stop. Stop trying to manifest your desire. Stop working at it. Stop putting effort into making it happen. Instead, simply assume it's already done. Feel yourself as the person who already has it, not the person trying to get it, the person who has it. And notice how effortless this is, how natural, how easy. You're not forcing anything. You're not straining. You're just being in the state of having. Tomorrow, when you wake up, don't start working on your manifestation. Don't begin your effort. Simply be the person who already has what you desire. Move through your day from that state, naturally, effortlessly. When you catch yourself trying, when you notice effort creeping in, stop, breathe, return to natural assumption. Do this for 7 days. A full week of effortless assumption instead of effortful trying, and watch what happens. I promise you the manifestations that come from effortless assumption will far surpass anything you achieve through effort, because effort creates resistance, but assumption creates reality. Let me close with this. You already have your desire in consciousness. It's already done, already created, already yours. The only question is, will you exhaust yourself trying to get what you already have? Or will you rest in the knowing that it's yours? And let that assumption manifest effortlessly. Effort is your enemy, because it denies what's already true in consciousness. Effortless assumption is your power, because it acknowledges what's already done. Stop trying, start being. Stop working, start resting in completion. Stop forcing, start allowing. This is the secret of true manifestation. Not effort, effortlessness. You are not learning to try harder. You are learning that you never needed to try at all. You only needed to assume. This is the secret. Thank you and good evening. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video. Good evening, my dear friends. Tonight, I want to talk to you about something that will sound completely backwards to everything you've been taught. Tonight, I want to talk to you about the power of doing nothing. Not the nothing of laziness, not the nothing of giving up, but the nothing of completion, the nothing of rest, the nothing that creates everything. You see, we live in a world obsessed with doing. Do more, try harder, take massive action, hustle, grind, push, force. And so people exhaust themselves in the pursuit of their desires. They run themselves ragged trying to make things happen, trying to force reality to bend to their will, trying to prove through their endless doing that they are worthy of what they want. And still, after all that effort, after all that striving, their desires remain just out of reach. But I'm here to tell you tonight that there is another way, a way that requires no effort, a way that demands no struggle, a way so simple, so radical, so profoundly restful, that most people cannot accept it, because they cannot believe that something so effortless could possibly work. I'm talking about the sacred art of non-doing, the power of radical inner stillness, the creative force of conscious rest. Now, when I say non-doing, I do not mean inaction. I do not mean sitting on your couch waiting for miracles to fall from the sky. I do not mean abandoning your responsibilities or refusing to participate in life. What I mean is something far deeper, far more powerful than mere physical inaction. I mean the inner cessation of all striving, the inner end of all resistance, the inner knowing that the work is already complete, and therefore there is nothing left to do. This is the great paradox that Christ taught when he said, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light." How can the path to manifestation be easy? How can it be light? Because it is not a path of doing, it is a path of being, and being requires no effort. Being simply is. When you are something in consciousness, you do not need to try to become it. You do not need to work toward it. You do not need to earn it or deserve it, or prove yourself worthy of it. You simply rest in the state of already being it, and reality must conform to that inner conviction. Let me tell you what I mean. There was a time when I wanted something desperately. I wanted it so badly I could taste it. And so I did what most people do. I took action. I made plans. I strategized and schemed and worked myself into exhaustion trying to make it happen. And the more I did, the more elusive my desire became. It was as if the universe was playing a cruel game with me, dangling what I wanted just beyond my reach, no matter how hard I stretched toward it. Then one evening, completely exhausted, I simply gave up, not in defeat, not in despair, but in a kind of sacred surrender. I stopped doing. I stopped trying. I stopped reaching. And I sat in perfect stillness and asked myself a simple question. What would it feel like if I already had what I desire? Not someday. Not when I finally earned it. Now. Right now. In this moment. What would it feel like? And in that stillness, something miraculous happened. I felt it. I felt the relief of having. I felt the peace of completion. I felt the absolute normalcy of my desire being fulfilled. And in that feeling, all my striving ceased. There was nothing left to do, because in consciousness, it was already done. The search was over, the work was complete. All that remained was rest. And from that rest, that sacred stillness, that state of inner non-doing, reality began to rearrange itself. Not through my effort, not through my action, but through some mysterious intelligence that operates when we finally get out of the way. Opportunities appeared. Circumstances shifted. People came into my life at exactly the right moment. And before long, what I had experienced in that moment of stillness had materialized in my world. Not because I made it happen, because I allowed it to happen by finally stopping my interference. This is what I mean by the paradox of doing. The greatest doing is non-doing. The most powerful action is conscious rest. Because when you rest in the fulfilled state, when you cease all inner striving and simply abide in the feeling of already having what you desire, you are not being passive. You are being creative in the highest sense. You are impressing upon consciousness the pattern that must appear in your world. And consciousness, being the only creative power there is, must harden that impression into fact. But most people cannot rest. They cannot be still. They are addicted to doing. Because doing makes them feel like they are in control. Doing makes them feel like they are earning their desires, like they are worthy of what they want, like they are actively participating in their own salvation. But I'm telling you, all that doing is interference. All that striving is resistance. All that effort is actually preventing the very thing you want from coming to you. Think about it. When you are constantly doing, constantly trying, constantly working toward your desire, what state are you in? You are in the state of not having. You are in the state of separation. You are in the state of lack, and consciousness does not respond to your actions. Consciousness responds to your state. If your state is one of lack, of not yetness, of trying to get what you don't have, then that is what will continue to manifest in your world. More lack, more separation, more striving without a rival. But when you rest, when you cease all inner doing, when you simply abide in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, what state are you in? You are in the state of having. You are in the state of completion. You are in the state of wholeness. And from that state, reality must give you more of what you already are, not because you worked for it, because you accepted it, not because you earned it, because you claimed it in consciousness. This is why Scripture tells us, be still and know that I am God. Be still. Stop doing. Stop striving. Stop trying to make things happen through your limited human effort. And in that stillness, know that the creative power of the universe, the power that causes everything to be, is within you as your own consciousness. And that power does not need your help. It does not need your struggle. It does not need your endless doing. It only needs your acceptance, your rest, your faith that in consciousness it is already done. I knew a man once who was desperate to change his financial situation. He was working 2 jobs, hustling day and night, trying every scheme and strategy he could think of to make more money. And the more he did, the more exhausted he became. And still he remained broke. His health was failing. His relationships were suffering. His entire life had become one long, grinding attempt to force prosperity into existence through sheer effort. One day I said to him, "What are you doing?" He looked at me confused. "I'm doing everything I can," he said. "I'm working myself to death, trying to make money." And I said, "Exactly. You're working yourself to death. But tell me, in all this doing, in all this endless action, what are you being? Are you being prosperous? Or are you being someone who desperately needs prosperity?" He paused. "I suppose I'm being desperate," he admitted. "I'm being someone who doesn't have enough, someone who needs to work harder to get what I want." And I said, "Then that is your state. That is what you are impressing upon consciousness with every frantic action. Not prosperity, desperation, not abundance, lack. And consciousness, faithful servant that it is, gives you more of what you are, not what you want." I told him to stop. Stop all the desperate doing. Stop the hustle. Stop the grinding. Not forever, but just for a while. Just long enough to discover a different state of being. Tonight, I said, I want you to rest. I want you to do nothing except feel what it would feel like if you were already financially free. Not someday. Now. Feel the relief of not having to work so hard. Feel the ease of having enough. Feel the calm confidence of someone for whom money is not a struggle. And rest in that feeling. Let that be your only work. He was skeptical. How could doing nothing create money? How could resting produce results? But he was also exhausted enough to try anything. So that night he stopped doing. He stopped planning and strategizing and working. He simply rested in the feeling of financial freedom. He felt what it would feel like to wake up without anxiety about bills. He felt what it would feel like to check his bank account and see abundance. He felt what it would feel like to be someone for whom prosperity was normal, natural, effortless. And he fell asleep in that state of rest. Within days something shifted. An old friend called with a business opportunity he never could have planned for, A debt he thought was permanent was suddenly forgiven. Money came from unexpected places, not through his doing, through his non-doing, through his rest in the fulfilled state, through his acceptance in consciousness that prosperity was already his. This is the great secret that the mystics knew, that the scriptures teach, that Christ demonstrated over and over again. Creation is finished. The work is already done. In consciousness, all things already exist in their perfect, completed form. Your desire is not something you need to create. It already exists. Your only work is to rest in the state where you have accepted it as yours. This is the meaning of the Sabbath. The Sabbath is not a day of the week. The Sabbath is the state of rest that comes from knowing creation is complete. God did not rest because he was tired. God rested because the work was finished. And you must learn to rest the same way, not because you've done enough, not because you've earned the right to rest, but because in consciousness, the work is already finished. Your desire is already fulfilled. There is nothing left to do except accept it, feel it, and rest in it. But here is where most people stumble. They hear this teaching, and they think it means they should sit around doing nothing while waiting for their desires to appear. They become passive. They become lazy. They confuse non-doing with inaction. But that is not what I mean at all. Non-doing is not about your outer actions. Non-doing is about your inner state. You can take action from rest. You can move and work and participate in life from the state of the wish fulfilled. In fact, when you rest in the fulfilled state, action becomes effortless. You find yourself doing exactly what needs to be done, without strain, without struggle, without that desperate pushing that comes from the state of lack. The right actions flow naturally from the right state. But those actions are not what create your desire. Those actions are simply the path through which your inner conviction externalizes. The key is to rest first, to be still first, to accept in consciousness first, and then let action, if action is needed, come from that state of rest, rather than from the state of striving. Because action from rest is inspired action. Action from rest is effortless action. Action from rest is action that feels good, that flows easily, that produces results without exhaustion. I'll tell you something else. The reason most people cannot rest is because they do not truly believe their desire is already theirs in consciousness. They still see it as something out there, something separate, something they need to work toward and earn and deserve. But consciousness is not out there. Consciousness is within. And within consciousness, all things already exist. Your desire is not separate from you. Your desire is already yours in the only place that matters, in consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality there is. When you finally understand this, when you finally accept that your desire is already yours in consciousness, and consciousness is all that exists, then rest becomes natural. Then non-doing becomes effortless. Because there is nothing to do. You don't work toward what you already have. You rest in it, you enjoy it. You live from it. And the outer world, being merely a reflection of inner states, must eventually show you in form what you have already accepted in consciousness. This is why Christ said, "It is finished." Not "it will be finished when you work hard enough." Not "it will be finished when you prove yourself worthy." It is finished. Present tense. Complete. Done. In consciousness, the work is always already finished. The only question is, will you rest in that completion? Or will you continue to strive, to struggle, to do and do and do until you exhaust yourself trying to create what already exists? Tonight I want you to stop. Stop all the doing. Stop all the trying. Stop all the endless action that comes from the state of lack. And instead be still. Rest. Feel what it would feel like if your desire were already fulfilled. Not someday. Not when you've done enough. Now. In this moment. In consciousness. And rest in that feeling. Make that your dwelling place. Let that be the state from which you live, and watch what happens. Watch as opportunities appear. Watch as circumstances rearrange themselves. Watch as the right people show up at the right time. Watch as your desire, which was always yours in consciousness, begins to materialize in your world, not through your effort, through your rest, not through your doing, through your non-doing. not through your struggle, through your acceptance. This is the paradox. The greatest doing is non-doing. The most powerful action is rest. The highest work is acceptance. Because when you rest in the fulfilled state, when you cease all inner resistance, when you simply allow consciousness to do what consciousness does naturally, which is to express itself, then manifestation is not only possible, it is inevitable. So let go of the belief that you must earn your desires through endless doing. Let go of the addiction to action that comes from the fear that if you stop doing, nothing will happen. Let go of the exhausting cycle of striving and struggling and pushing and forcing, and instead rest. Be still. Accept in consciousness that what you desire is already yours, and live from that state of completion, that state of rest, that state of the wish fulfilled. This is not passivity. This is power. This is not inaction. This is the highest action there is. This is not giving up. This is accepting what is already yours. And when you finally rest in this way, when you finally cease all doing and simply be, you will discover what the mystics have always known, that stillness creates what action cannot, that rest produces what effort never will, that non-doing is the most powerful doing there is. Thank you and good evening. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video.
Imagine possessing a superpower so potent it could create life, fuel your dreams, and unlock the secrets of the universe. Now imagine flushing it down the toilet daily. Sounds dumb, right? Well, that's exactly what you're doing every time you masturbate. Take a deep breath. Feel that energy coursing through you? That's your life force, your power, and you're squandering it. For what? A fleeting moment of pleasure? Masturbation isn't just a harmless habit, it's actively killing your spirit. Uncomfortable? Good. Growth happens at the edge of discomfort. Grow up. Ask yourself, are you truly living up to your full potential? Are you as energized, focused, and spiritually connected as possible? If not, what you're about to hear might just revolutionize your life. This isn't about morality or religion. It's about tapping into ancient wisdom that modern science is only beginning to grasp. It's about reclaiming your power and unleashing your true potential. In Taoist philosophy, they speak of Jing, your body's most precious essence. Think of it as the oil in your car's engine. Every ejaculation depletes this essence, this life force energy. The ancient Taoists believed that 100 drops of blood were required to create 1 drop of semen. That's how valuable they considered this fluid. But ejaculating is natural. You're probably thinking, well, it's not natural, you're in a mental paradigm. You've been caught in a construct, conditioned to believe that it's natural to self-pleasure and to ejaculation, and even if it was natural, we all know the consequences of overindulgence. You can't ascend to your highest self while constantly indulging your lowest impulses. It's like trying to climb a mountain while digging a hole beneath your feet. Let me get specific about what you're losing with each ejaculation. Semen is a complex fluid containing over 200 separate proteins, as well as vitamins B12, C and E, zinc, calcium, citric acid, fructose, and other nutrients. You're literally expelling life-giving substances from your body that are meant to be used to create a human baby. This is not rhetoric, this is a fact. But it's not just about the physical components, it's about the energy, the potential, the very essence of creation that you're carelessly tossing away. Every time you masturbate, you're choosing momentary pleasure over long-term power and vitality. Think about the most successful, charismatic people you know. Have you ever noticed an aura of magnetism around them? That's the power of retained sexual energy. When you stop wasting this energy, you start radiating a charisma that attracts success, opportunities, and deep connections. For the skeptics, I'll explain the science. 1. Frequent masturbation desensitizes dopamine receptors, numbing you to life's joys. This isn't just about sex, it affects your ability to feel pleasure and motivation in all areas of life. You're essentially giving yourself a form of anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. 2. Ejaculation lowers testosterone, crucial for energy, motivation, and cognitive function. Studies have shown that abstaining from ejaculation for 7 days can increase serum testosterone levels by 145.7%. Imagine what that could do for your energy levels, your mental clarity, and your drive to achieve your goals. 3. Porn-induced erectile dysfunction is a growing concern. Rewiring brains to respond to pixels instead of people. This isn't just affecting your sex life, it's changing the way your brain processes reward and pleasure, potentially impacting your ability to form deep, meaningful relationships. 4. Research has shown that semen retention can increase androgen receptors in the brain. This means your body becomes more responsive to the testosterone you have, amplifying its positive effects. 5. Abstaining from ejaculation has been linked to increased spinal cord reflex excitability. In simpler terms, this means improved physical performance and faster reflexes. Now, let me tell you about injaculation, the practice of experiencing orgasm without ejaculation. Yes, orgasm is separate from ejaculation. This isn't just some new age concept. It's rooted in ancient Taoist sexual practices and is gaining recognition in modern sexology. Research and our own experience tells us that ejaculation will lead to increased energy levels. By retaining the nutrients and life force in semen, you're keeping that energy in your body. Improved prostate health. Contrary to popular belief, regular ejaculation isn't necessary for prostate health. Ejaculation allows for the benefits of orgasm without the loss of vital fluids. Remember, those fluids are needed to create life. Imagine all the vital life essence within what you habitually eject. Enhanced sexual stamina. As you master control over your ejaculatory reflex, you naturally last longer during sexual activities. More intense orgasms. Many practitioners report whole-body orgasms that far surpass the brief pleasure of ejaculatory orgasms. Spiritual awakening. As you learn to circulate sexual energy through your body, you may experience heightened states of consciousness and spiritual insights. Imagine channeling all that conserved energy into your goals, dreams, and spiritual growth. Don't forget what you're here to do. But it's not just about the benefits of retention, it's about what you're avoiding. Every time you ejaculate, you're depleting your body of zinc, selenium, and other crucial nutrients. You're flooding your system with prolactin, which suppresses dopamine. You're triggering a refractory period where your body and mind are less capable and less energized. Now let's talk about the spiritual essence behind this. In tantric traditions, sexual energy is the key to higher consciousness, the fuel for kundalini awakening. But instead of raising this energy to enlighten your mind, you're spilling it out, dimming your light. The Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, an ancient text of 112 meditation techniques, includes several practices focused on using sexual energy for spiritual awakening. One such technique instructs, at the start of sexual union, keep attentive on the fire in the beginning, and so continuing, avoid the embers in the end. This is about maintaining awareness and circulating energy rather than losing it through ejaculation. Do you often feel lost, struggling to find purpose or deep connections? Like I've been saying, you're constantly depleting the very energy needed for spiritual growth. Your sexual energy isn't just about reproduction or pleasure, it's the most potent creative force you possess. It's the energy that can fuel your deepest inspirations, your most enlightening insights, and your highest achievements. It helps you unfold into the real you. This isn't about repression, it's about mastery. Let me say that again. It's not about repression, it's about mastery. Think. Your sexual energy is like an oil well. Will you let it gush out wastefully or refine it to power your entire life? Here's a roadmap for you. You're welcome to walk this path alongside us. 1. Question every urge. Is this the best use of my creative energy? When you feel the impulse to masturbate, pause. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself what you could create or achieve if you channeled this energy differently. 2. See your sexual energy as sacred. Your body is a temple. Treat it as such. Start viewing your sexuality not as a source of quick pleasure, but as a wellspring of vitality and creative power. 3. Transmute the energy. Channel it into exercise, art, or passion projects. When sexual energy arises, try redirecting it. Do some push-ups, stretches, deep breath work, handstands. Work on that business plan. You'll be amazed at how this energy can fuel your vision. Think, feel. 4. Meditate. Learn to circulate this energy throughout your body. Try this. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and visualize your sexual energy as a warm, golden light in your pelvic area. 5. Explore tantric practices and ejaculation with a partner. Please let it be with someone who you share spiritual connections with, someone who you love. Transform your connections. Tantric sex isn't just about pleasure. It's about using sexual connection as a pathway to spiritual awakening. Start by practicing extended foreplay, synchronized breathing with your partner, and maintaining eye contact during intimacy. Practice testicular breathing. This Taoist technique involves using breath and visualization to draw energy from your testicles up into your body. It's a powerful way to cultivate and circulate sexual energy. Again, research this specific thing and don't forget the name, testicular breathing. 7. Engage in regular physical exercise. This helps to circulate the conserved sexual energy throughout your body, preventing stagnation and promoting overall vitality. Physical exercise can be things like hatha yoga and qigong as well. Here's a provocative thought. Perhaps the powers that be want you to keep masturbating. A population drained of vital energy, numbed by dopamine hits, is easier to control. Let this bubble in your brain for a minute. In a world that constantly bombards you with sexual imagery and promotes instant gratification, choosing to retain and cultivate your sexual energy is a radical act of self-empowerment. Let me say that again. In a world saturated with sexual imagery and the lure of instant gratification, choosing to retain and cultivate your sexual energy becomes an act of self-empowerment. Think. I'm not here to dictate your actions. I'm here to make you question everything. To make you think deeply about how your choices shape your reality. Every time you choose to masturbate, you're making a decision about who you want to be and what you want to achieve in life. Here's your challenge: 30 days without masturbation. Retain your energy and transmute it into something higher. Journal your experiences, mood, energy levels, mental clarity, spiritual insights. Pay attention to how your interactions with others change, how your productivity increases, and how your dreams become more vivid. You will struggle. You will get pushed back, and that's okay. The awareness itself is transformative. Each time you resist the urge, you're building willpower, you're reclaiming your power, and you're choosing your higher self over momentary pleasure. If you make it through those 30 days, you'll never see yourself the same way again. You'll tap into a wellspring of power you never knew existed. You will experience increased confidence and charisma, enhanced mental clarity and focus, more vivid dreams and intuitive insights, greater physical vitality and faster recovery from exercise, a magnetic attraction that draws people and opportunities to you, deeper, more fulfilling connections with partners, a sense of purpose and spiritual connection. Remember, this isn't about counting days. The 30 days are just a benchmark, nothing to brag about in the comments section. It's really about a lifestyle change, a paradigm shift leading to a permanent perceptive upgrade. Semen retention doesn't mean no sex, it means mastering your sexual energy. Research ejaculation techniques. Learn more about Taoist and Tantric practices. This is a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. You are not your body. You're not your urges. You are a spiritual being with infinite potential. It's time to stop leaking your power and start embodying it. It's time to reclaim the energy that's rightfully yours and use it to fuel your evolution. Are you ready to reclaim your energy? To stop killing your spirit and start fueling your ascension? To step into your full power as a man? The choice is yours. But remember, every decision either feeds your spirit or starves it. Every time you choose to retain your semen, you're choosing empowerment over weakness, creation over waste, ascension over stagnation. The power is in your hands, literally. What are you going to do with it? Comment below if you know you've been depleting these vitamins and nutrients.
Listen to me. Everything you've been told about men and love is a lie. You think men fall in love because of beauty? No. Because of sex? No. Because of effort? Still no. Men don't fall in love when they sleep with you. Men don't fall in love when you're always there proving your worth. Men fall in love when they feel something they don't feel anywhere else. Let me say that again. Men fall in love when a woman makes them feel something they can't find in the world. Not validation, not desperation, not control, but a force so rare it shakes them. A man falls in love when he sees you as the one person who makes him feel understood, but not chased, desired, but not suffocated. He falls in love when he knows deep in his gut that you are a woman who could walk away if he doesn't show up fully. Because here's the truth. Men don't value what's handed to them on a silver platter. They value what they have to earn. A man falls in love when he realizes you're not like the rest. You're not waiting by the phone. You're not begging for attention. You're in your own world, thriving, growing, living, and that's when he wakes up. That's when he sees what's in front of him. That's when he falls. Because love isn't about being everything to a man. It's about being the one thing he's afraid to lose. Now, are you that woman, or are you still playing small? Men don't fall in love the way you think they do. They don't fall in love because you're beautiful. They don't fall in love because you're always there, answering their calls, making them feel important. They don't even fall in love because you give them everything they want. That's the lie you've been sold. That's the illusion that's keeping you stuck, confused, wondering why he pulls away, why he loses interest, why he doesn't feel the same way you do. A man falls in love when he feels something he cannot find anywhere else. Not validation, not comfort, not control. He falls in love when he experiences an emotion so deep, so electrifying that it shakes him. It's a force that is bigger than logic, bigger than attraction, bigger than anything he understands. It's not a choice. It's an instinct. Everywhere he goes, the world is filled with expectations. Be successful. Be strong. Be the provider. Be the man. And so he moves through life with a mask, hiding his truth, playing the role the world expects him to play. He meets women who adore him, who admire him, who try to prove they're worthy of his love, and still something is missing. Something feels off. He can't explain it. He can't put it into words. But then, one day he meets a woman who doesn't just see him, she makes him feel. It's not because she gives him attention. It's not because she flatters him. It's not because she follows all the rules of how to make a man love you. It's because in her presence, something awakens in him, a depth he has forgotten, a hunger he didn't know existed. She makes him feel seen, but not in a way that makes him comfortable, in a way that makes him question himself. She challenges him without even trying. She moves through life with a force so undeniable that he has no choice but to notice. And that moment when his world shifts, when something inside of him stirs, that is when a man begins to fall. You see, love is not about logic. It is not about effort. It is not about checking all the right boxes. Love, real love, is about emotional impact. A man can have the most beautiful, devoted woman in the world and still not fall. Not because she isn't enough, but because she doesn't trigger the depth of emotion he needs to feel that pull, that fire, that undeniable knowing that he cannot let her go. When a man falls in love, it's not because he makes a decision to love. It's because something inside of him doesn't give him a choice. It's because when he's with her, the world feels different. The air is different. The silence is different. He is different. And he doesn't even understand why. He just knows he needs more of it. But here's the hard truth. Most women never get to that place. Not because they aren't amazing, but because they are too busy trying to be what they think a man wants. They play the role. They shrink themselves. They say the right things. They overgive. They overcommit. They over-explain. They try to love him into loving them, and in doing so, they strip away the very thing that would make him fall. A man does not fall in love with a woman who hands him her soul on a silver platter. He does not fall in love with convenience. He does not fall in love with predictability. He falls in love with the one thing he can't control, the one thing he can't explain, the one thing he knows deep in his bones he will never find again. And that woman? She doesn't chase. She doesn't beg. She doesn't need to prove anything. She is the experience. She is the storm. She is the moment he realizes he is no longer in control. And when that happens, he will do anything to make sure he never loses her. A man does not value what comes too easily. He does not cherish what he didn't have to fight for. If you hand him your love on a silver platter, if you bend over backwards to prove your worth, if you rearrange your life just to fit into his, he won't see it as a blessing. He'll see it as something that costs him nothing. And anything that costs nothing is taken for granted. Think about it. The things people value most in life, the things they fight for, bleed for, sweat for, are the things they had to earn: success, respect, power, even love. When something is handed to you without effort, it loses its significance. That's human nature. And men, they are wired to pursue, to chase, to conquer. That's not just some cliche. It's biology, psychology, and reality. A man doesn't truly fall for the woman who is always available, always giving, always proving. He falls for the woman who makes him step up, who makes him realize that if he doesn't show up fully, he could lose her. That's the woman who makes his heart race. That's the woman who makes him rethink everything. Because here's the truth. Nobody tells you when you give too much, too soon, too easily, you strip away the very thing that makes a man desire you. It's not because he's cruel. It's not because he wants to hurt you. It's because he is wired to value what he has to work for. If he doesn't have to earn your love, your time, your presence, he won't feel the same intensity for you. And I know what you're thinking, but I'm just being kind. I'm just showing him I care. I just want to make him happy. That's the mistake, because in your mind, love means giving. Love means effort. Love means showing up for someone fully. But in a man's mind, love means something different. It means wanting. It means pursuing. It means feeling like he might lose you if he doesn't give you his all. So many women think they have to do more, be more, give more to make a man love them. They think if they just show him how amazing they are, he'll wake up one day and realize he's in love. But that's not how it works. A man doesn't fall in love with effort. He falls in love with the feeling that he might lose something he deeply desires. Look around. The relationships that last, the love that is unbreakable, the women who are cherished beyond words, they are not the women who gave everything away for free. They are the women who made a man rise to the occasion, who made him show up, who made him prove to himself and to her that he was willing to go all in. Because when a man has to earn you, he sees you differently. You are not just another option. You are not just another woman who is there for convenience. You are the rare jewel, the one thing he knows he cannot replace. And that is what makes a man stay. Not guilt, not obligation, not comfort, but the deep, undeniable understanding that you are valuable and he had to fight to have you. And when a man fights for something, when he invests in it, when he has to step up and give his best, that's when he treasures it. That's when he holds it close. That's when he makes sure with everything in him that he never loses it. A man does not fall in love with the woman who needs him. He falls in love with the woman who doesn't. The woman who is so full of life, so consumed by her own passions, so deeply rooted in who she is, that his presence is a privilege, not a requirement. The woman who walks into a room and owns it, not because she's trying, but because her energy is undeniable. The woman who doesn't seek approval, who doesn't beg for attention, who doesn't bend herself into something smaller just to fit into his world, that is the woman who captures his soul. Men don't chase women who are just standing still, waiting to be chosen. They chase the women who are already in motion, already moving towards something greater than love itself. A man sees a woman who is independent, who is thriving, who is so completely whole within herself, and he feels something rare, respect. And that respect turns into admiration, and that admiration turns into desire. And that desire, that's what makes him fall. Because here's what nobody tells you: love is not about filling a void. It's not about fixing loneliness. It's not about needing someone to complete you. A man does not want to be your savior. He does not want to be the reason you exist. He does not fall for the woman who makes him her entire world. He falls for the woman who has a world of her own, because that world is what makes her magnetic. That world is what makes him crave her, and that's the mistake so many women make. They meet a man, they start to like him, and suddenly everything becomes about him. Their schedule bends for him, their time revolves around him, their happiness depends on him. And at first he might enjoy it, he might even soak it up. But deep down, something shifts. The excitement fades, the challenge disappears. The energy that pulled him in, it's gone. Because he no longer feels like he's stepping into something extraordinary. He feels like he's being handed something that requires no effort, no risk, no risking. A man does not value what is given to him freely. He values what he has to earn. And a woman who is confident, who is independent, who is completely in love with her own life, that is a woman he knows he has to work for. That is a woman he knows is not waiting by the phone, not hoping for his attention, not desperate for his love. That is a woman he knows could walk away if he doesn't show up as the man she deserves. And that realization, that is what makes him step up. That is what makes him put in the effort. That is what makes him look at her and say, I can't lose this. Because men do not fall in love with women they can have without effort. They fall in love with women who make them better, who make them chase, who make them rise to a higher standard. And when a woman has that energy, that unshakable confidence, that presence that says, I am enough, with or without you, a man has no choice but to see her differently. She is not an option. She is not a temporary thrill. She is not replaceable. She is the rarest thing he has ever encountered. And the thought of losing her, that is what makes him fall. Because he knows deep in his soul that a woman like her doesn't come twice. A man doesn't fall in love because you love him. He doesn't fall in love because you give him your time, your body, your loyalty. He doesn't fall in love because you're always there, always available, always ready to do whatever it takes to make him happy. A man falls in love when he realizes deep in his gut that you are the one thing he cannot afford to lose. The moment that fear hits him, the moment he understands that you are not a woman who waits, who begs, who pleads, that's when everything changes. Because here's the brutal truth. A man does not commit to something he isn't afraid to lose. If he knows you will always be there no matter what, if he knows you will always forgive, always compromise, always stay even when he gives you the bare minimum, he will never give you his all. Not because he's a bad person, not because he doesn't care, but because human nature doesn't work that way. We do not treasure what we think will always be there. We treasure what we know is rare, what we know could slip through our fingers if we don't hold on tight, and that's the mistake so many women make. They think being irreplaceable means being the most loving, the most giving, the most understanding. They think if they show him unconditional love, he will wake up one day and realize she's the best thing that ever happened to him. But that's not how it works. A man doesn't fall in love with comfort. He falls in love with the fear of losing something extraordinary. He falls in love when he knows without a doubt that if he doesn't step up, if he doesn't give you his best, you won't stick around just because you love him. He has to feel that his place in your life is not guaranteed. He has to feel that if he stops showing up, if he stops putting in the effort, if he starts treating you like an afterthought, you will not wait for him to wake up. He has to know that you are not a woman who tolerates half love, half effort, half commitment. That realization shakes a man. It wakes him up. It makes him see you in a way he has never seen any woman before. Not as a convenience, not as someone who is just there, but as a force he cannot afford to lose. A man does not fall in love with a woman who sacrifices herself for him. He falls in love with the woman who knows her worth so deeply that she refuses to settle for anything less than a man who is all in. The woman who knows that love is not about waiting, not about hoping, not about proving. Love is about mutual effort, mutual respect, mutual desire. The woman who understands that the right man will never put her in a position where she has to beg for his time, his affection, his commitment. And that's where the power is. Not in trying to be good enough for him, not in proving that you're the perfect woman, not in doing everything right. The power is in being the woman who chooses herself first. The woman who knows that walking away is an option. The woman who does not cling to a man who won't fight for her. Because when a man sees that, when he feels that, when he knows that you are a woman who will not lower her standards just to keep him around, he has no choice but to step up. He has no choice but to fall, because the truth is, men don't fall in love with women who stay no matter what. They fall in love with the women they can't imagine their life without. The women they respect. The women they know they have to work for. The women who don't just give their love away, but make sure it's being received by a man who deserves it. That's what makes a man afraid to lose you. And that fear, that's what makes him love you in a way he has never loved before.
If you believe that working harder will make you wealthy, you are operating under one of the most dangerous delusions known to man. Today, I'm going to shatter this illusion and reveal to you the one thing that separates the wealthy from the poor. And it has nothing to do with your effort, your education, or your circumstances. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will completely transform how you think about wealth and success. My friends, let me begin with a story that will illustrate the profound truth I wish to share with you today. There once was a man who worked 3 jobs. He woke at 4 a.m., returned home at midnight, and repeated this cycle for 20 years. His hands were calloused, his back ached, and his bank account remained stubbornly empty. Meanwhile, his neighbor, a man who seemed to work less, stress less, and enjoy life more, accumulated wealth effortlessly. The hard-working man would often say, "Life is unfair. I work so much harder than him, yet he has everything, while I have nothing." But you see, my friends, this man had fallen into the trap that ensnares millions, the belief that physical effort alone creates wealth. He had confused activity with achievement, motion with progress. Now, before you think I'm about to tell you to work less, let me share the shocking truth about what actually creates wealth and why 99% of people will never discover it. The truth is this: wealth is not created by your hands, but by your imagination, not by your sweat, but by your state of consciousness, not by what you do, but by what you assume to be true about yourself. I have observed thousands of individuals throughout my years, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that the wealthy possess one quality that the poor lack entirely. They live in the consciousness of wealth before they have any physical evidence of it. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, for it will seem contrary to everything you've been taught. The wealthy do not work hard to become wealthy. They become wealthy in consciousness first, and then the physical world rearranges itself to match their inner state. Let me share with you an experience from my own life. Years ago, I found myself in circumstances that would have discouraged most men. I had no money, no prospects, and no apparent way forward. But I had discovered a secret that changed everything. Instead of working harder at my circumstances, I began to work on my consciousness. Each night, before sleep, I would imagine myself as the man I wanted to become. I would feel the satisfaction of financial freedom, the peace of security, the joy of abundance. I didn't merely think about these things. I felt them as real, as present, as already accomplished. What happened next will challenge everything you believe about how wealth is created. But first, let me explain the dangerous trap that keeps most people poor forever. The trap, my friends, is this: most people work from the consciousness of lack while trying to create abundance. They affirm poverty while seeking wealth. They declare their limitations while praying for expansion. Every morning they wake up and say, "I have to work hard to make money." Do you see the assumption embedded in that statement? They assume that money is scarce, that it requires struggle, that they must sacrifice their time and energy to obtain it. But wealth flows to those who assume it naturally, effortlessly, and inevitably. Now, let me be very clear about what I mean by consciousness. I am not speaking of positive thinking or wishful dreaming. I am speaking of a fundamental shift in your concept of self. The wealthy person does not hope to be wealthy. They know they are wealthy. They do not work to create wealth.
They work from the consciousness of wealth. They do not struggle to attract money. Money flows to them because they have become a magnet for it through their state of being. But here's where most people make the fatal mistake that keeps them trapped in poverty forever. They try to change their circumstances instead of changing this one thing. The thing they must change is their self-concept. Your self-concept is the sum total of all the beliefs you hold about yourself. It is your answer to the question, who am I? If you believe you are someone who must work hard to earn money, you will always find yourself working hard for money. If you believe you are someone who struggles financially, you will always find evidence of financial struggle. If you believe you are limited by your circumstances will always limit you. But if you believe, truly believe, that you are wealthy, that abundance is your natural state, that money flows to you easily and consistently, then this must become your experience. How do you change your self-concept? Through the practice of assumption. You must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You must live in the consciousness of what you want to be, not what you currently appear to be. Every night, as you prepare for sleep, imagine yourself as the wealthy person you want to become. Feel what it feels like to have complete financial freedom. Sense the peace, the security, the joy of abundance. Make it so real in your imagination that it becomes more real than your current circumstances. Now I'm going to share with you the exact technique that has created more millionaires than any business strategy or investment plan ever could. But you must promise me you'll actually use it. The technique is this: revision of your financial story. Right now, you have a story about money. Perhaps it's a story of struggle, of never having enough, of having to work hard for every dollar. This story is not serving you. It is in fact imprisoning you. Tonight, I want you to revise this story. In your imagination, go back to your earliest memories about money. Revise them. See yourself as always having enough, as naturally attracting wealth, as being blessed with abundance. Then revise your present circumstances. In your imagination, see your bank account with the balance you desire. Feel the satisfaction of financial security. Sense the freedom that comes with abundance. Do this consistently, persistently, and with feeling, and you will be amazed at how quickly your outer world begins to conform to your inner vision. Now you might ask, but Neville, don't I need to take action? Don't I need to work? My friends, I am not advocating laziness. I am advocating intelligent effort. When you work from the consciousness of wealth, your actions become inspired, effortless, and effective. You find yourself in the right place at the right time. Opportunities appear, doors open, people help you. But when you work from the consciousness of lack, your efforts become desperate, forced, and ultimately futile. You work harder and harder while getting further and further away from your goal. Let me share with you the one question that separates the wealthy from the poor. It's so simple, yet so profound, that it will change your life forever. The question is this: what would I do if I were already wealthy? Not, what do I need to do to become wealthy? But what would I do if I were already wealthy? The wealthy person asks this question naturally because they already see themselves as wealthy. They make decisions from the consciousness of abundance, not from the consciousness of lack. This brings me to one of the most important principles I can share with you. Live from the end. Do not live from your current circumstances. Do not live from your past experiences. Do not live from your fears and limitations. Live from the end, from the assumption that you already are what you want to become. If you want to be wealthy, live as if you already are wealthy. Make decisions as a wealthy person would make them. Think thoughts that wealthy people think. Feel feelings that wealthy people feel. This is not pretense. This is creation. You are not pretending to be wealthy. You are becoming wealthy by assuming the consciousness of wealth. Let me share with you the most powerful wealth-building secret I've ever discovered. It's so counterintuitive that most people will never believe it, but those who do will never be poor again. The secret is this: wealth is not something you get, it's something you are. You do not become wealthy by accumulating money. You accumulate money by becoming wealthy in consciousness. The money is merely the external expression of your internal state. This is why people who win the lottery often end up broke again. They never changed their consciousness. They got the money, but they never became wealthy. And this is why some people seem to create wealth effortlessly over and over again. Even when they lose everything, they have become wealthy in consciousness, and the external world must conform to their internal state. For the next 30 days, live as if you are already wealthy, not in your actions necessarily, but in your consciousness. Assume the feeling of wealth. Think from wealth. Feel from wealth. Be wealthy in your imagination until it becomes real in your experience. Remember, my friends, imagination is not an escape from reality. Imagination is reality. The world you see around you is nothing more than the outpicturing of human imagination. Change your imagination, and you change your world. Now let me share with you another profound truth that will deepen your understanding. Money, like everything else in this universe, is energy in motion. It has what we might call a vibrational quality, a frequency that attracts like unto itself. When you worry about money, when you stress about bills, when you feel anxiety about your financial future, you are broadcasting a signal of lack. And the universe, which is nothing more than your own consciousness pushed out, responds by sending you more experiences that match that signal of lack. But when you feel abundant, when you feel wealthy, when you feel secure and at peace with your financial life, you broadcast a completely different signal. You become a magnet for wealth because you are vibrating at the frequency of wealth. And here's something that will shock you. Most people are actually repelling money while desperately trying to attract it. They're doing one thing that guarantees poverty, and they don't even realize it. What they're doing is this. They're focusing on the absence of money rather than the presence of it. They're thinking about debt instead of abundance. They're worried about what they don't have instead of appreciating what they do have. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of how creation works. You cannot create from a place of lack. You cannot attract abundance while focusing on scarcity. You cannot manifest wealth while feeling poor. Let me be very specific about what I mean by feeling wealthy. I'm not talking about fake enthusiasm or forced positivity. I'm talking about a deep, settled knowing that you are provided for, that you are abundant, that money flows to you easily and naturally. This feeling might come to you when you're walking in nature and you suddenly feel connected to the infinite abundance of the universe. It might come when you're genuinely grateful for what you already have. It might come when you realize that you've always been taken care of, that somehow, some way, your needs have always been met. When you find this feeling, this genuine feeling of abundance, hold on to it, cultivate it, return to it again and again, make it your dominant emotional state. Now here's where many people struggle. They assume the feeling of wealth, they imagine their desires fulfilled, but then they try to force their good to come. They become impatient. They look for it desperately. They worry about how it will manifest. My friends, you must learn the art of allowing. Once you have planted the seed in consciousness, once you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you must allow it to grow. You must trust the process. You must know that it is already done. The wealthiest people I've known all share one surprising trait. It's not what you think, and it's probably the opposite of what you've been taught about success. The trait is this: they don't chase money. They don't desperately seek opportunities. They don't anxiously check their bank accounts every day. Instead, they feel wealthy first, and then they allow wealth to flow to them. They understand that desperation repels what you want, while confidence attracts it. They know that when you chase something, you are affirming that you don't have it. But when you feel as though you already have it, you naturally attract more of it. Let me share with you one of the most powerful techniques for shifting into the consciousness of wealth. The practice of appreciation. Right now, regardless of your circumstances, there are things in your life that represent abundance. Perhaps it's the air you breathe, free and unlimited. Perhaps it's the water that flows from your tap, clean and available. Perhaps it's the food in your refrigerator, the roof over your head, the clothes on your back. Begin to genuinely appreciate these things. Feel grateful for them. Recognize them as evidence of your abundance. When you appreciate what you have, you align yourself with the energy of abundance, and more abundance must flow to you. This is not a trick or a technique. This is a fundamental law of consciousness. What you appreciate, appreciates. What you focus on with gratitude expands in your experience. Now I'm going to reveal the number one mistake that keeps people trapped in financial struggle for their entire lives. Even people who understand these principles often make this devastating error. The mistake is this: they try to manifest money to solve their problems instead of manifesting from a place of already feeling solved. They say, when I have money, then I'll feel secure. But the law of consciousness says, when you feel secure, then you'll have money. They say, when I'm wealthy, then I'll be happy. But the truth is, when you're happy, then you'll be wealthy. They say, when I have abundance, then I'll be generous. But the principle is, when you're generous, then you'll have abundance. You see, my friends, the feeling must come first. The consciousness must change before the circumstances change. This brings me to one of the most transformative practices you can adopt: living in a constant state of gratitude for your wealth, before you see it in your physical experience. Every morning, wake up and feel grateful for your financial abundance. Thank the universe for the money that is flowing to you. Appreciate the wealth that is already yours in consciousness. Feel blessed by your prosperity. Do this not as a technique to get something, but as a recognition of what already is. In consciousness, you are already wealthy. In imagination, you already have everything you desire. Your gratitude is simply an acknowledgement of this truth. And here's the secret that separates those who manifest money quickly from those who struggle for years. It's all about this one invisible shift that changes everything. The shift is from wanting to having, from seeking to being, from becoming to already being. Most people live in a constant state of wanting. They want more money, they want financial security, they want abundance. But wanting implies lack. When you want something, you are affirming that you don't have it. But when you shift into the consciousness of having, when you feel wealthy now, when you live as though you already have what you desire, you align yourself with the frequency of abundance. Now let me share with you another profound realization. Wealth flows most easily to those who expect it to come easily. If you believe that making money must be hard, that you must struggle and sacrifice to be wealthy, then that will be your experience. But if you believe that wealth is your natural state, that money flows to you effortlessly, that abundance is as natural as breathing, then this becomes your reality. The universe is always saying yes to your beliefs. It never argues with your assumptions. If you assume wealth is difficult, the universe will make it difficult. If you assume wealth is easy, the universe will make it easy. I'm about to share with you the most counterintuitive wealth principle of all. It goes against everything society teaches, but it's the key to unlimited abundance. The principle is this: the less you need money, the more it comes to you. When you desperately need money, when you're anxious about it, when you're constantly worried about your finances, you create resistance to its flow. Your need creates a vibration of lack that repels what you want. But when you feel abundant regardless of your bank account, when you feel secure regardless of your circumstances, when you feel wealthy regardless of your current financial situation, you remove all resistance to money's flow. This doesn't mean being irresponsible with money. It means being emotionally free from the need for money, while still appreciating and enjoying it. My friends, I want you to understand that life is a game, a beautiful, magnificent game of creation. Money is simply one of the tokens in this game. When you understand this, you can play the game with joy rather than desperation, with confidence rather than fear, with creativity rather than limitation. The wealthy understand this game. They know that money is just energy, and energy always flows to where it's welcomed and appreciated. They know that abundance is not about having a certain amount in the bank. It's about feeling abundant regardless of the numbers. When you truly embody wealth consciousness, something beautiful happens. Not only does your financial situation improve, but every area of your life begins to flourish. Your relationships become richer, your health improves, your creativity expands, your joy increases. This is because wealth consciousness is really abundance consciousness. And abundance consciousness affects everything in your experience. When you know yourself to be abundant, you experience abundance in all forms. Before we conclude, let me give you the ultimate test of whether you've truly understood what I've shared today. There's one simple question that will reveal everything. The question is this: how do you feel about money right now, in this moment? If you feel anxious, worried, desperate, or fearful about money, you are operating from the consciousness of lack, and no amount of hard work will permanently change your circumstances. But if you feel peaceful, grateful, confident, and abundant about money, you are operating from the consciousness of wealth, and your external circumstances must eventually reflect this internal state. Let me give you a specific daily practice that will transform your relationship with money. Each morning, before you get out of bed, spend 5 minutes feeling grateful for your wealth. Don't focus on what you want to have. Focus on what you already have in consciousness. Feel the peace of financial security. Sense the joy of abundance. Experience the freedom of wealth. Throughout the day, whenever you handle money, whether you're paying a bill, making a purchase, or receiving payment, do so with gratitude and appreciation. See each transaction as a circulation of abundance, not a loss of resources. Before sleep each night, imagine your bank account with the balance you desire. But don't strain or effort to make this happen. Simply enjoy the feeling of having what you want. Fall asleep in the consciousness of wealth. And here's something that will amaze you. When you operate from genuine abundance consciousness, money doesn't just come to you, it multiplies. Opportunities appear that you never could have imagined. People want to give you money. Investments grow beyond expectation. Ideas become profitable ventures. This is because abundance consciousness is creative consciousness. When you feel abundant, you think abundantly. When you think abundantly, you act abundantly. When you act abundantly, you create abundantly. And if you truly understand what I've shared with you today, you'll never work hard to be wealthy again. You'll work from wealth, not for wealth. You'll attract abundance instead of chasing it. You'll become a magnet for money instead of a slave to it. But more than that, you'll understand that wealth is not really about money at all. True wealth is the consciousness of abundance. True wealth is the knowledge that you are provided for, that you are blessed, that you are one with the source of all good. When you have this consciousness, money becomes simply one of the many ways that abundance expresses itself in your life. You may have money, or you may not, but you will always feel wealthy because you will know yourself to be wealthy. The choice is yours, my friends. You can continue to work hard and remain poor, or you can work smart and become wealthy. You can continue to live from your circumstances, or you can live from your imagination. You can continue to chase money, or you can allow money to flow to you. The power is within you. It always has been. It always will be. The question is, will you use it? Your current financial situation is not a reflection of your worth, your capabilities, or your potential. It is simply a reflection of your past thinking, your past beliefs, your past consciousness. But your future financial situation will be a reflection of your present consciousness, your present beliefs, your present thinking. Change your consciousness, and you change your world. Assume the feeling of wealth, and wealth must be your experience. Live from the end, and the end becomes your beginning. Go now, and assume the consciousness of wealth. Feel it, live it, breathe it, until it becomes as natural to you as breathing itself. And remember, you are not limited by your circumstances unless you believe you are. You are not poor unless you assume you are. You are not bound by your past unless you choose to be. You are the creator of your experience. Create wisely, create abundantly, create wealth. The world is waiting for your success. Go claim it. And remember, my friends, that wealth is not a destination. It is a way of being. It is not something you achieve. It is something you are. It is not something you get. It is something you give through the very nature of your abundant consciousness. Be wealthy now, in this moment, in your consciousness. and watch as the universe rearranges itself to reflect this truth back to you in ways more beautiful and abundant than you ever dared to imagine. The time is now. The place is here. The person is you. Go forth and prosper.
Have you ever wondered about the true nature of your existence? Who are you really? Let me tell you something that you may have never fully considered. You are God, manifesting itself into a human body. You are not just a human being living a mundane life. No, you are far more than that. You are a divine being, an expression of the infinite universal consciousness experiencing itself through a human form. Think about it. There's a part of you that already knows this, that deep, quiet voice inside. The one that whispers, there's more to life than what you've been told. It's been with you all along, reminding you that you're not just flesh and bones. Your body is simply a temporary vehicle. The real you is eternal. The real you is a God particle, experiencing this reality through the lens of human existence. But here's the thing, if you miss this truth, you miss the entire point of your existence. Let's break this down. How do you refer to yourself? You don't say, I am body, do you? You say my body. You don't say, I am hand. You say my hand. The words you use show that you already understand this on some level. Your body is something you possess, but it's not who you are. You are the awareness behind it, the soul within it. And this awareness, this soul, is divine. It is God manifesting itself in physical form, experiencing life through you. This is not some metaphor. It's the literal truth. You are a fragment of the infinite, a piece of the universal consciousness. The same creative force that powers the universe flows through you. You are not separate from it. You are it in a unique, individualized expression. So if you are God manifesting itself into a human body, what does that mean for your life? For your thoughts, your beliefs, your reality? It means that you are a creator, just like the divine force that created the stars, the planets, and life itself. The power that made the universe is within you, waiting to be realized. Your thoughts, your beliefs. They are not small or insignificant. They are the tools through which you shape the reality around you. You've heard the saying, what you think, you become. But let's go deeper. This isn't just a nice idea. It's the way the universe works. As God manifesting itself in human form, you have the power to create. Your thoughts are energy, and that energy shapes your experience. Every thought you have sends out a vibration, a signal. The more you focus on a particular thought, the stronger that signal becomes. So what are you thinking about? What are you focusing on? If you think thoughts of limitation, fear, or doubt, those thoughts will manifest in your life. Why? Because as God in human form, you are always creating, whether you're aware of it or not. If your mind is filled with negativity, that's the energy you're sending out into the universe. And because you are a creator, the universe reflects that energy back to you. But when your thoughts are filled with abundance, creativity, and love, you begin to attract those higher vibrations into your life. This is the essence of manifestation. It's not some magical process happening outside of you. It's you, God manifesting itself, consciously or unconsciously creating your reality through your thoughts and beliefs. Now let's talk about belief, because your beliefs are the foundation of everything you create. They shape your thoughts, your actions, your entire experience. If you believe you're small, limited, or powerless, your life will reflect that belief. But when you begin to believe in yourself as the divine being you truly are, everything changes. You begin to align with the truth of who you are, God manifesting in human form. But here's the incredible part. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. It believes whatever you feed it. This is why your thoughts are so powerful. Your subconscious mind is like fertile soil, ready to grow whatever you plant in it. So what are you planting? Are you planting seeds of limitation? Or are you planting seeds of greatness, of divine creation? Remember, every thought is a creative act. You are always shaping your reality, whether you realize it or not. The key is to become conscious of this process, to start intentionally creating the life you want, rather than being a passive observer in your own life. How do you harness this divine power? How do you start living as the God that you are? It starts with awareness. Become aware of the thoughts you're thinking, the beliefs you're holding. Are they aligned with the truth of your divine nature? Or are they keeping you small? Are you focusing on what you lack, or on the infinite potential that already exists within you? Once you become aware, the next step is to consciously choose your thoughts. Start thinking in alignment with your highest self, the part of you that knows you are divine, the part of you that knows you are here to create, to evolve, and to express the infinite potential of the universe. Visualize yourself living the life you desire, not as a distant goal, but as a present reality. See yourself experiencing the abundance, the joy, the love that is your birthright as a divine being. Feel the emotions of already having it, because emotions are the fuel that amplifies the energy of your thoughts. And most importantly, practice gratitude. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrational states you can embody. When you are grateful, you are acknowledging the divine abundance already within you. You're telling the universe, I have everything I need, and the universe, being a mirror, responds by giving you even more to be grateful for. So let's come back to the truth. You are not just a human being trying to survive. You are not small, powerless, or limited. You are God manifesting itself into human form. The same divine force that created the universe flows through you. And you are here to create. You are here to evolve. You are here to express your infinite potential. And here's the final realization. You are not alone in this. You see, we all are. Every person you encounter, every living being, every atom in existence, all are expressions of that same divine energy. We are all fragments of the same infinite consciousness, experiencing life in different forms. You are not separate from me, and I am not separate from you. We are all part of the same whole. When you look at the world around you, remember this. Everything that exists is a manifestation of God. The air, the earth, the people you meet, the stars in the sky, all of it is God expressing itself in countless ways. And because of this, we are one. There is no separation. There never was. There never will be. The divine exists in everything and everyone, and that includes you. So what will you create knowing this? What reality will we, as divine beings, shape together? The power is already within you, within all of us. All we have to do is believe.
What if I told you that the most powerful force in the universe has been living inside you your entire life, and you've been treating it like a stranger? Today, I'm going to reveal something that will fundamentally change how you see yourself, how you move through the world, and why you've been living like a beggar when you were born to be a king. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover has been hidden from you by a world that profits from your confusion. There's a crisis happening right now, and it's not what the news is telling you. It's not economic. It's not political. It's spiritual. Millions of people are walking around like empty shells, searching for something they can't name, chasing things that don't satisfy, and living lives that feel like borrowed costumes that never quite fit. They wake up every morning with a gnawing sense that something is missing, that they're capable of more, that there's a purpose they can't quite grasp. They scroll through social media, looking for inspiration, read self-help books searching for answers, attend seminars, hoping someone will finally give them the key to unlock their potential. But here's what's shocking about this crisis. The very thing they're searching for everywhere else is already inside them. It's been there since their first breath. It's the reason they feel restless when they compromise. It's the source of that voice that says, you're meant for more when they're settling for less. It's why certain conversations light them up, while others drain their energy. It's why they can sense when someone is lying before they have proof. It's why they sometimes know exactly what to say in moments of crisis, even when they've never faced that situation before. But society has trained us to ignore it. We've been conditioned to look up to the sky, to bow to institutions, to wait for permission, to seek validation from sources outside ourselves. We've been taught that power is something you earn, wisdom is something you study, and purpose is something you find through trial and error. We've been programmed to believe that the answers are always somewhere else, in the next book, the next course, the next guru, the next relationship, the next job, the next city. All lies. The truth is this. You were born with the mind of the Creator embedded in your DNA, not as metaphor, not as poetry, as reality. And I'm about to prove it to you in a way that will make you question everything you thought you knew about limitation. Think about this for a moment. When you get a gut feeling about someone, where does that come from? When you know something is wrong before anyone tells you, what is that? When you have an idea that seems to come from nowhere but changes everything, who sent it? When you're in a conversation and the perfect words come out of your mouth, surprising even you with their wisdom, where did that wisdom originate? When you make a decision that everyone calls crazy but it works out perfectly, what guided you? You've been experiencing divine intelligence your entire life. You just called it intuition. You labeled it coincidence. You dismissed it as imagination. You credited it to luck or good timing, or being in the right place at the right moment. But what if those moments of knowing, those flashes of clarity, those times when you acted with perfect timing, without planning, what if those weren't accidents? What if they were glimpses of who you really are, when you stop getting in your own way? Let me tell you about two types of people you'll meet in this world. The first type walks into a room and immediately starts calculating. They read the room, adjust their personality, measure their words, and perform whatever version of themselves they think will be accepted. They speak differently to their boss than to their friends. They act one way at church and another way at home. They live in reaction. They move based on the mood of others. They speak to please rather than to express truth. They're always scanning for approval, always adjusting their behavior based on who's watching, always performing some version of themselves that they think will get them what they want. But then there's the second type, and when you meet them, you'll never forget it. The second type walks into that same room, and something shifts. Not because they're loud or dramatic, but because they carry something that can't be faked. They don't read the room responds to them. They don't perform, they simply are. And in their presence, people remember something they had forgotten about themselves. Children gravitate toward them. Animals sense something different. Even their enemies respect them, though they can't explain why. What's the difference? The first person has forgotten who lives inside them. The second has remembered. The second person has made a decision that changed everything. They've decided to act as if the creator of the universe dwells within them. Not when they feel holy, not when they're perfect, not when the world agrees with them. Right now, in their doubt, in their mess, in their confusion, in their ordinary Tuesday morning when they're running late and spilled coffee on their shirt. And here's what happens when you make that same decision, when you begin to act as if divine intelligence lives within you. Your entire operating system upgrades. You stop asking permission to exist. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop seeking validation from sources that can never truly know you. But more than that, and this is where it gets interesting, you start accessing capabilities you didn't know you had. I'm talking about abilities that will seem almost magical to people who are still living from their limitations. You'll start saying things that are exactly what someone needed to hear, without planning it. You'll make decisions with perfect timing, without having all the information. You'll know things about people before they tell you. You'll feel danger before it arrives, and opportunity before it knocks. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time so often that people will start calling you lucky. This isn't supernatural. This is you functioning the way you were designed to function before fear taught you to doubt every instinct. Before society trained you to second-guess every impulse. Before you learned to trust everyone's opinion except the voice inside your own chest. This is what happens when you remember that you're not just a biological machine trying to survive in a random universe. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. And that spiritual essence is connected to the source of all intelligence, all wisdom, all power. I once watched a man transform his entire business by making one decision, not a strategic decision, not a calculated move based on market research or competitor analysis. He simply decided to stop asking, "What will people think?" and started asking, "What wants to be created through me?" He stopped trying to figure out what would sell and started paying attention to what was trying to emerge through his unique gifts and perspective. Within 6 months, his revenue tripled. His team changed. His entire industry started following his lead. People asked him what course he took, what consultant he hired, what strategy he implemented. They wanted the formula, the system, the step-by-step process. The answer: he remembered who was living inside him and started acting accordingly. He aligned with something bigger than his personal will and let it flow through his work. But before you can access this power, you have to understand why most people never will. Here's the brutal truth that most personal development won't tell you. You will never feel ready to carry what you were born to carry. Let me say that again, because this is where most people get stuck forever. You will never feel ready to carry what you were born to carry. Why? Because divine assignments don't arrive at your level of comfort. They arrive at your level of obedience. They don't wait for you to feel confident, qualified, or prepared. They come when the timing is right, from a perspective you can't see, requiring you to stretch beyond who you've been into who you're becoming. Readiness is a feeling. Obedience is a decision. And the difference between these two will determine whether you die with your music still inside you, or whether you become a symphony that changes the world around you. The world is full of people who are waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel worthy, waiting to feel qualified, waiting for more proof, waiting for better timing, waiting for permission, waiting for someone to discover them, waiting for the perfect plan, waiting for all the resources to be in place, waiting for the fear to go away, waiting for the doubt to disappear, waiting for their circumstances to change. And while they wait, the assignment that was meant for them gets passed to someone else. Not someone more qualified, someone more available, not someone more talented, someone more willing, not someone more prepared, someone more obedient to the call they're receiving. You see, divine intelligence doesn't wait for your emotional alignment. It doesn't delay the plan until your insecurities are satisfied. It doesn't postpone the timing until you feel ready. It moves through the person who says yes while their hands are still shaking, who speaks up while their voice is still trembling, who steps forward while their knees are still knocking. 3 years ago, I felt a strong urge to start speaking publicly about these concepts. I had no experience in public speaking, no credentials in spirituality or psychology, no platform, no following, no guarantee anyone would listen. Every logical part of my mind said, wait until you're more prepared, get some training, study under a mentor, build credibility first, create a plan, figure out the business model. But there was something inside me that said, now, not a voice I could hear with my ears, a knowing I could feel in my bones, a pressure in my chest, an inner alignment that had nothing to do with my feelings about it. It was like a river that had been building up behind a dam, and the dam was about to burst, whether I cooperated or not. I could have waited. I could have gotten more training, more experience, more confidence. I could have spent years preparing, studying, practicing in private. But I had learned something crucial. The divine doesn't give you instruction based on your mood. It gives it based on timing that you can't see from your limited perspective. It operates according to patterns and purposes that are bigger than your personal comfort zone. So I made a choice that terrified me, and it changed everything. I decided to act before I felt ready. And in that decision, everything I thought I needed began to appear. The words came while I was speaking them. The confidence built while I was moving. The path became clear while I was walking it. The resources showed up as I needed them, not before. This is how divine intelligence works. Faith is not proven by stillness. Faith is proven by motion. You don't get to see the whole staircase. You just take the first step, and the next step appears. You don't get the complete blueprint. You get the next instruction, and when you follow it, the one after that becomes visible. So let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. What are you waiting for? What calling have you been ignoring because you don't feel qualified? What message are you withholding because you fear being misunderstood? What action are you delaying because you haven't figured out step 5, when step 1 is still undone? What dream are you postponing because you're waiting for better circumstances, more resources, or someone else's permission? Because what I'm about to tell you will eliminate every excuse you've been using to stay small. You don't lack clarity. You lack commitment to what is already clear. Read that again. You don't lack clarity. You lack commitment to what is already clear. That restlessness you feel when you're not living authentically, that's not confusion. That's the divine intelligence within you, pressing against the walls of your comfort zone, demanding expression. That idea that keeps returning to your mind, no matter how many times you dismiss it. That's not wishful thinking. That's instruction. That sense that you're meant for something bigger than your current circumstances. That's not ego or delusion. That's recognition. That pull you feel towards certain activities, certain people, certain causes. That's not random. That's guidance. That discomfort you feel when you compromise your values or settle for less than what you know is possible. That's not weakness. That's your inner compass recalibrating, reminding you that you're off course. But here's what happens to most people. They ask for the calling to come again instead of acting on the one that already came. They pray for more signs when they've already received clear direction. They ask for confirmation when they've already been shown what to do. They wait for the feeling to return when the instruction was never based on feeling in the first place. And this is where everything changes or everything stays the same. When you finally say yes, without full understanding, without full preparation, without full confidence, that's when the real power begins to flow to what is already clear. But let me clarify something important. This isn't the kind of power the world teaches you to seek. This isn't power over others. This isn't power to dominate or control or manipulate. This isn't power to get what you want by force or manipulation. This is the power of alignment, the power of authenticity, the power of someone who no longer needs to pretend because they've remembered who they really are. And people feel this kind of power immediately. Have you ever been in the presence of someone who wasn't trying to impress anyone? Someone who spoke with quiet authority. Someone whose silence was more compelling than most people's speeches. Someone who could walk into a chaotic situation and bring calm just by being there. Someone who could speak truth in a way that landed without creating defensiveness. That's what happens when a person stops drawing from the outside world for validation and starts drawing from the infinite source within. They don't need to be loud to be heard. They don't need to perform to be respected. They don't need to chase anything, because everything they need is drawn to their alignment like iron filings to a magnet. This is what the ancients called magnetic presence. It's not charisma that can be learned, and often feels manipulative. It's not confidence that can be faked, and often masks insecurity. It's the natural result of a human being who has stopped betraying themselves and started honoring what lives within them. But this transformation requires something most people aren't willing to do. You have to make room. If your mind is full of fear, if your calendar is full of distractions, if your environment is full of voices that mock your calling, don't tell me you're aligned with divine intelligence. You cannot host the sacred in a crowded house. You cannot carry infinite intelligence in a schedule ruled by distraction. You cannot hear what's holy if all you listen to is noise. You cannot receive divine guidance if your attention is constantly fragmented among 1,000 different inputs. Let me be specific about what this looks like in practical terms. You wake up and listen instead of immediately reaching for your phone to see what everyone else is doing. You take time for sacred stillness, not for more motivation, but for connection with the source of all motivation. You create space in your day for contemplation, for reflection, for simply being present with yourself without any agenda. You say no to conversations that pollute your peace. You cut ties with environments that cheapen your energy. You distance yourself from people who drain your vitality or mock your vision. You guard your ears like gates. watching what you consume not because you're fragile, but because you're carrying something holy that requires protection. You fast not just from food, but from everything that clouds your vision. Toxic media, negative conversations, energy-draining activities, relationships that pull you down rather than lift you up. You become intentional about what you allow into your mental and emotional space, understanding that everything you consume either feeds your connection to divine intelligence or interferes with it. And when you create this space, something extraordinary happens. Suddenly you think more clearly. You know what to say without rehearsing it. You feel strength without forcing it. You speak with weight even in soft words. You move with peace even when there's pressure. You make decisions from a place of inner knowing rather than external analysis. But this only happens when space has been made. And that space isn't just physical. It's emotional, spiritual, energetic. You have to clear out the clutter in all dimensions of your being. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that crowds my spirit? What relationships have expired, but I still carry them like dead weight? What guilt, shame, regret, and past versions of myself am I dragging around like chains? What patterns am I stuck in not because they serve me, but because I'm afraid of the stillness that will follow if I let them go? Because here's the hard truth. Some of you need to hear. Some of you keep your lives loud, because silence would force you to confront what you've been avoiding. The pain you haven't processed, the dreams you've abandoned, the truth about what you really want versus what you think you should want. The gap between who you're being and who you're called to be. But in that silence is where divine intelligence lives. In that stillness is where alignment begins. In that open space is where your next instruction is waiting. You don't need to add more to your life. You need to subtract what's blocking your power. There comes a moment in every life when the questions must stop. The begging, the wishing, the searching, the restless prayer that sounds like, when will someone help me? When will the way become clear? When will I be given the power? When will my circumstances change? When will someone see my potential and give me a chance? And the answer, though few are willing to hear it, is this. You were not meant to keep asking. You were meant to become the answer. You were not created to chase certainty. You were designed to embody it. You were not placed on this earth to wonder who will rise. You were placed here to rise yourself, so others remember they can too. But here's the tragedy. Most will never rise, not because they lack opportunity, but because they never believed they were chosen to become the solution they waited for. They waited for the right leader to appear, the right mentor to guide them, the right door to open, the right person to believe in them, the right circumstances to align. But what if you are the leader you've been waiting for? What if you are the door you've been trying to find? What if the answer you keep searching for in the world has been asking for permission to live through you all along? What if your calling isn't to find your purpose, but to become so aligned with divine intelligence that purpose flows through you naturally? So here's what separates those who become the answer from those who die still waiting. Decision, pure, simple, irrevocable decision. Decision to walk into the unknown with the confidence of one who knows he is not empty. Decision to stand where others tremble. Decision to speak when the moment calls, even if your voice has never been used that way before. Decision to carry your assignment even when your hands still shake. The shaking doesn't disqualify you. The fear doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. The doubt doesn't cancel your destiny. These are not signs that you're unworthy. They're signs that you're about to grow beyond who you've been. When you make this decision, really make it. Not just think about it, or wish for it, or plan to make it someday. People will ask, what changed? And you won't be able to explain it, because it wasn't a moment, it wasn't a conversation, it wasn't a technique, it was a return to who you were before the fear, before the forgetting, before the smallness, before the delay. A return to the one truth they could never take from you, that divine intelligence lives within you, and that changes everything. It changes how you walk, how you talk, how you make decisions, how you handle pressure, how you treat people, how you see opportunities, how you respond to challenges. When you truly understand and embody this truth, You stop living as if you're alone in the universe, struggling against forces beyond your control. You start living as if you're partnered with the creative intelligence that designed galaxies and grows flowers and beats your heart without you having to think about it. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What wants to be expressed through me?" You stop trying to figure everything out with your limited human mind and start trusting the infinite intelligence that knows things you could never calculate or predict. You stop forcing and start flowing. You stop pushing and start attracting. You stop performing and start being. And in that being, in that authenticity, in that alignment, you become a force of nature that can't be stopped, can't be imitated, and can't be ignored. So walk. Walk until the questions stop. Walk until the room shifts when you enter it. Walk until doors open that were locked to everyone else. Walk until your life becomes the loudest proof that something divine is moving through you. Walk until you no longer have to convince anyone of your worth, your calling, or your purpose. Walk until people can sense the presence of something greater just by being around you. Walk until your silence speaks louder than their noise. Walk until your peace becomes contagious and your certainty becomes magnetic. Because when a person carries the presence of infinite intelligence within them, they become unmistakable. They don't have to announce it, prove it, or defend it. It announces itself through every word they speak, every decision they make, every room they enter, every life they touch. The divine is not waiting for you to feel ready. It's waiting for you to remember. And once you do, everything changes. Not just for you, but for everyone whose life intersects with yours. You become a catalyst for awakening, a reminder of what's possible, a living example of what happens when a human being remembers who they really are and starts acting accordingly. This is your invitation. This is your moment. This is your time to stop living as if you're powerless and start walking as if you carry the force that moves mountains, parts seas, and transforms lives, with nothing more than aligned intention and surrendered action. The question is not whether you're capable. The question is whether you're willing. Are you willing to let go of the small story you've been telling yourself about who you are and what you can do? Are you willing to step into the magnitude of what wants to be expressed through your unique presence in this world? Are you willing to stop waiting and start walking? Because the world needs what you carry, and it needs it now.